It's part 3 of building this giant rubber band trampoline, and you guys just keep wanting me to add more rubber bands, so we're gonna double it, making it 100 pounds of rubber bands on this trampoline. Here's a little time lapse of clouds going by until we had it built. The world's first ever rubber band trampoline with 100 pounds of giant rubber bands. And this time there was so much tension that when we bounced on it, it barely sank down. It was like a real trampoline, and my goal was to bounce on it like a normal functioning trampoline. I got up and started bouncing, and I actually made it happen. It was insane. So one day, after making this giant rubber band trampoline, I had an idea to make one completely out of plastic wrap. We got started taking the trampoline off, then getting all the plastic wrap ready, and trying to figure out a pattern we wanted to go with. We started out just going back and forth over and over again, trying to make it as strong as possible with all the plastic wrap we had, until we completely ran out of plastic wrap, and it was pretty cool looking. I sat on it, but it still needed more, so like if I should keep going. So this is part 2 of trying to build a working trampoline out of saran wrap. So we put all the plastic on we could last time and only got this far, so I ordered a ton more on Amazon and we got busy. I was first focused on making the middle as strong as possible, then we made this little side thing, and eventually we started going the other way once we felt like it was strong enough to completely strengthen the entire trampoline. And it was working. The trampoline was feeling so strong. We added a bunch more until I felt ready to jump on the trampoline. And with the trampoline feeling really strong and sturdy, I got on and started bouncing, and it was completely stable and held my weight perfectly, and I even started bouncing like a normal trampoline. It was crazy, so like and let me know if I should add even more and see how far I can take this. So you guys keep wanting me to add way more rubber bands to this giant rubber band trampoline I've been working on, so that was the plan. I was going to add even more rubber bands. But as soon as we got started, we noticed an issue. The metal was literally bending, and I was scared it was going to break, and I didn't want that to happen, so I bounced on it a few more times with my brother like this. We went really low, and then we started just disassembling the entire trampoline. It was really sad, but I didn't want it to hurt us, and the trampoline was fun while it lasted. Comment anything else we should turn this trampoline into, but now it's a trampoline. Some of you guys commented saying I should put a tarp over my giant rubber band trampoline. That way I wouldn't fall through and it would make it more like a real trampoline. So I bought this tarp at Walmart, made sure the trampoline still worked good. It did. Then I opened up the tarp and threw it on. We spread it out. It was a pretty big tarp, pretty sturdy. I flex taped it onto the trampoline and tested it out. And it still bounced great and definitely made me more stable on the trampoline. I then attempted a front flip to see if it would catch me, and it did. So let me know anything else you want me to try. So one day, a while back, I made this trampoline out of rubber bands, and it was really cool until we destroyed it like this, and had to throw it away. But today I had the idea to recreate it with a big trampoline and even bigger rubber bands. We then got out a big pile of bands that we made into this giant loop, and it wasn't really working. So I realized I had to create a bunch of different strands of bands that perfectly stretched across the trampoline, which was a process. We looped all these rubber bands and then took them to the trampoline and started placing them on. And after a little while and a lot of bands, I tried to get on it, but it wasn't ready yet. So we continued until we had all the rubber bands placed completely on the trampoline, and then we tested it out. We couldn't believe it. It was actually holding us up perfectly, and it was super bouncy. It looked so cool underneath, and here's me on top of it. It felt like just a giant bouncy web. Then my girlfriend jumped on it and almost hit the bottom, and my brother almost fell through. So like if I should jump off the roof. So one day I wanted to put the famous purple mattress to one final raw egg test. The mattress is advertised to protect an egg at any cost, and in the past when I've tested it, it has to some extent. I carried the mattress over my fence and set it down, and it was time for level 1, the fall test. I fell back onto the egg and it survived. So I moved on to level 2, jumping on it with full force, which the egg also survived. So for level 3 I had a different idea. I got out my super powerful Nerf gun and shot the egg, which worked, but kind of defeats the entire point. So I had 2 more tests in mind. I got out this brick in the yard and threw it at the egg, but missed. So then I threw it again and the egg broke. Yeah. But for the final level, I wanted to climb up super high and do a super slam on the egg. I got up on top of my shed and jumped. I landed perfectly on the egg and survived! So one day, a couple months ago, I ambushed my friend Brendan with this super powerful water gun. And today I decided to do it even better. Brendan told me he was at the gym working out and about to finish up. I filled the water gun completely up like this, and then it was ready to go. Here's a normal shot, and here's the most powerful shot. Then I shot around my dogs to try to scare them. Then I was ready to ambush my friend Brendan. I waited until he came out. Then I got a clean hit on him like this. He tried to run, but I kept on shooting. Then he came back. I acted like I was going to shoot him, then I just cleaned out the pavement and his car. Comment any other ideas?
As to putting a circle of salt around my Tesla makes it not move, let's try it. So basically all you do is put a ring of salt around a Tesla like this, and it's supposed to make it not drive. So we're going to test it out. I bought a ton of salt, filled this entire bowl up completely with salt. Felt really cool. Then I backed my Tesla into the middle of the cul-de-sac and poured the ring all the way around it until it looked like this. It was really weird. And now it was just time to test it and see if it actually worked, which it failed. So I put it in reverse and it also failed. So let me know what else I should try.
So one day, people commented wanting me to add LED lights to the storm shelter and just overall making it look a lot better. And I'm not living there anymore, but I'm still going to do my best to make it look nice. I cleared it out and then I headed to Walmart to get the supplies. I got the LED lights, this plant, and this lamp. I took everything out to the cellar, which had a ton of bugs everywhere, put this plant down, hung this strip, which made it a pretty cool spot for this lizard thing. Yeah, don't come for me, I'm not a reptileologist. We put the bed in, the lamp, and the place looked pretty sick. Comment anything else you want me to do.
So one day I decided to test a new method of doing DoorDash delivery. With FaZe launching their FaZe subs, I wanted to see if we could make them fly and deliver them through a drone. All you would have to do is stand there and wait for your food to fly in. But during the first test, the bag caught wind and flew about a mile away. It eventually came back, but then flew away again, so we had to hunt it down, and we found it in this tree. Yeah, it was really high, and I knew one thing.
I cannot let that sandwich go.
I had to do everything in my ability to get the FaZe sub back. My first idea was just to climb the tree. I used to do it all the time, but I realized it was too high, so I got out this really long stick, which wasn't quite long enough. And with rain coming, we had to get the sandwich out soon. My friend Joe had an idea. He knew this professional tree climber who could climb the tree and save my sandwich and my drone. This guy was crazy. He was the best tree climber I'd ever seen, but after long struggle, he couldn't quite get to it. But with a stroke of luck, the bag was ripped, so we went on the other side and found the sandwich on the ground, and it was still amazing.
Awesome. This is the first ever rubber band trampoline, 100 pounds of rubber bands on this trampoline frame. I'm gonna be getting on it and testing it out. It's hard to kind of get on because the bands are kind of scattered until you get to the center. And now we're gonna try bouncing. It's easier to bounce on like your back and your stomach because you cover more bands. The hard part when you go to stand up and bounce. Whoa, dude.
So in my last video, I tried recreating my mini trampoline I made out of rubber bands by making a huge trampoline using giant rubber bands. I could bounce on it and everything, but you guys wanted me to add even more rubber bands. So that's exactly what I'm doing. We have another 25 pounds of rubber bands here to double the amount currently on the trampoline. So my brother and I got started looping them all into strands and placing them evenly around the entire trampoline over the center so it would have extra support. We also made sure each strand had a lot of tension, and we just kept going. We had a couple more strands left, finished it off, and bam, the trampoline was double the size. I then went under and got on it to test it out. I couldn't believe how strong it was now. I tried bouncing on it with my feet, and it kind of worked, but it was really unstable. But even with all my weight bouncing as much as I could, the trampoline didn't hit the ground at all.
That's insane, bro.
So then I went again and tried to fully stand up and bounce on it like a normal trampoline. The only problem was all the bands made it really unstable and easy to fall through. So just let me know what else I should try.
So one day I bought a tiny inflatable bouncy house to float down the creek in. It was pretty bouncy and seemed like it would make a pretty good boat. I flipped inside of it like this, and then it was time to test it out. We took it to the creek, walked it all the way down over a bunch of rocks and stuff. I jumped in and I was off. I did it. I was floating down the creek in a miniature bouncy house. I bet my parents are proud. My goal was to make it all the way to the stronger current over here, but I got stuck, so I had to push it out. But after that, I was flying. The bouncy house was moving so fast. Then we approached this fallen tree that I actually made it through. And the bouncy house was a success. Comment what else I should try.
So it's part 104 of building my 1,800-pound rubber band ball. And today, instead of just looping rubber bands, my brother and I decided to try and build the world's biggest rubber band. We made it super long, long enough to span across the street several times. Here it is all the way around, me speeding past it. Yeah, it's really long. I put it all in my car and then took it back home to place on the rubber band ball, which didn't take very long. And bam, just like that, 50 pounds of rubber bands on my ball.
So one day, after dyeing my parents' pool completely red, and getting their reaction, they got pretty mad and kicked me out. So I had an idea. I would just make the storm cellar my home. But there was spiders. I had to get a broom and kill them. But I still needed more supplies, so I had to sneak back in, crouch down, and grab some stuff. Rubber bands, this picture of me, and this mirror. I went back out with all the stuff to make it feel like home. And to pass time, I tried to make another rubber band ball, but failed. So look at my base. Looks pretty good. Let me know what else I should do in my underground cellar. So one day, my brother and I wanted to compare the cheapest food in our town to the most expensive food in our town. We first went to McDonald's, and my brother ordered off the dollar menu. We got a chicken sandwich and a small fry for like $4. And Jack enjoyed the fry. It was pretty good.
Fries, always good.
Then I started looking up fancy food places and found this place. I looked for the most expensive meal I could find, and then I placed an order for pickup. It was $70. So I drove there, and the place was actually super fancy. I felt really cool. There was these cool sculptures, and it was just a really neat place. I waited in the car a little bit for my food, and then they brought it out. I then took it home to try it out. I was about to eat the most expensive food I'd ever had.
Pretty good, but $70 is a lot of money.
One day, since it was 105 degrees, I wanted to test if I could cook an egg on my driveway. After making sure no one was watching me, I cracked an egg and then let it sit. The concrete was extremely hot, but I still had no idea if this would even work.
I tapped the egg like this, and it felt really cool. Then I waited by the dumpster, started playing with it like this, kind of broke the yolk.
Then I got mad at a cloud blocking my sun, but kept on pushing through. Eventually, my phone overheated, though, so I had to put it in the fridge and get my freezer phone out. At this point, the egg had been on the concrete for quite a while, and it was starting to look like this.
Bon appetit.
So one day my girlfriend's fish died, and she was really sad about it. So I had an idea. I would surprise her. I was going to cheer her up and buy her something that could never die. A robotic fish. They don't need food or anything and swim just like a real fish. I opened up the box, pulled out the bowl and the fish, and look how it moved. I filled this container all the way up with water to really see him in action, and then plopped him in. Look at him go. I also added this never wet sand, and look at him swim around. But I wanted to put him in the original fish's tank to see my girlfriend's reaction, so stay tuned.
So one day I decided to go metal detecting near the woods and search for treasure. This was the first beep we got. We dug it up, sifted through the dirt, and found this. Yeah, it was just a random piece of metal, so then I headed for the woods to see if I could find something better. And after a little bit longer, we found this piece of metal. But not too long after that, we found this. I started digging and I hit something really hard and also really shiny. I dug around it a bunch more until I could get it out of the ground. We got it out of the ground and it was a locked safe. It was really crazy and still turned on, so I tried to enter the code but failed. So I just threw a rock at it, hoping to bust it open, then threw it in the pool. I wanted to try to drown it open. I had to rescue the safe though, because it went underwater. I got the safe back up on dry land and then attempted busting it open with rubber bands, which eventually worked way better in my head, so I just threw it at a tree, and then another tree. And well, another tree. But the safe still wasn't open, so I resorted to my slingshot, which busted it right open along with everything inside. And inside was the SpongeBob movies.
So one day I ordered the mug that won't spill, the Mighty Mug.
I tested one of these out before, and the mug is really hard to knock over.
Which makes sense because it's known to be the unspillable mug. But I wanted to test how unspillable. I kept punching at it, but it wouldn't knock over. Then my brother hit it and tapped on it a bunch. We got it to fall, and then I hit it with a frying pan. And that didn't knock it over, so then I put it on top of my truck. Which did. It fell on the pavement, but still didn't spill, so I had to go to extreme. My baseball bat, which made it kind of spill. Yeah.
It's Rubber Band Ball Part 100. It's crazy to think 2 years ago this ball started from a watermelon and now it's literally almost 1,700 pounds. And for Part 100 I ordered a very pricey 100 pounds of rubber band. This is the most amount of bands we've ever placed in one sitting, so I'm not looking forward to it. And if you've never seen one of these, we literally just loop all the bands because they're too small to wrap around the ball. We loop them into strands like this, and after a very long time, 3 hours to be exact, the pile disappeared, leaving us with these long strands that we then just wrap around the ball. And just like that, here's another 100 pounds being added on to the rubber band ball. Even though this ball is massive, we're still a long way from the world record. Give this video a like and I'll keep going.
So this is part 2 of pranking my parents by dyeing their entire pool red with 3-day party pool dye. I got the pool entirely red, well, pinkish, and then I got the reaction. They looked pretty astonished at first and didn't really say much, but eventually they seemed kind of mad.
What the hell? How are you going to get it back to the normal color?
Not gonna. It's food coloring. I'm just kidding.
What is it?
It's like a 3-day party pool dye.
Oh, and I was like, this
I
time
thought I was going to have to drain the whole pool.
So one day I googled my net worth and it turns out I was a multi-millionaire. I was so shocked and happy. I could finally really start to enjoy life with no boundaries. Money was no object for a guy like me. I even went to Starbucks.
Hey there, welcome to Starbucks.
And paid $7 for this pink drink. And I still had $29,399,993. So I had an idea. Buy some friends.
Yo, be my friend.
Okay. I was so excited that I took my new best friend to go buy this Tesla. It was a really nice car and he was so happy. Then I went to check my bank and I realized I wasn't a millionaire. So one day, people commented on my last TikTok telling me to go dumpster diving and take whatever I find to the pawn shop. And I wasn't really finding anything, went to this bookstore, didn't find any books. Then I went to this dumpster, hopped in, and started digging around until eventually, after hours of dumpster diving, I found a Star Wars Pez dispenser that I took to the pawn shop. I walked in the store and he said,
What in the world is that?
I've had this for a very long time. One of a kind, Star Wars Pez dispenser.
Wow, that is pretty cool. No candy in it. Do you eat all the candy? It's worthless.
You just gotta buy the candy. I mean, it's a collectible. And then he asked me how much.
What do you think it might be worth?
$30.
How long have you had it?
Like, years.
Oh, is it like this one?
Then he started comparing it to ones on eBay.
Pez dispenser. You sure you didn't buy this on eBay for 99 cents?
That one looks different. I then did my best to convince him the true value of it.
I'd probably give you 50 cents because I think it's kind of cool.
And I knew I had to do it. He gave me the 50 cents and I used half of it for these Skittles. I was a winner after all.
I got my money back.
So one day I ordered this red party pool dye to prank my parents by turning their entire pool red. My dad was already acting suspicious, but we carried on, cleaning the pool out and then getting ready to dump it all in. Once I started pouring, it was completely bright red. I swam underneath it and it looked so cool. It looked like I was in the middle of a shark attack or something. And I didn't really know how to spread it out all the way, so I just started swimming in it a bunch and splashing it around, and it started to spread. I added a little bit more into the other side and eventually the pool looked ready. Come back tomorrow to see the reaction.
Guys, I'm in this insane underground bunker and check this out.
And then we got a secret bathroom with a toilet, a sink, and a shower. And then when you want, you can just close it back up.
And now I'm chilling in a hidden bunker bathroom.
So one day I set out to make the world's biggest paper airplane. First I went to Walmart with my minion to gather all the supplies, poster board and Gorilla Tape. I then went home and taped 4 pieces together like this and started folding it into an airplane. And because of the size of the plane, it was a bit flimsy, so I had to reinforce it with extra tape. The plane was now ready for test flight 1, which went pretty smoothly. Look at it go. I then climbed up onto this shed and threw it again, and I hit a tree. But the next flight soared for quite a while. Whoosh. So I decided to go even higher. And remember, don't try this at home. And the plane flew like a perfect giant airplane.
So this is part 2 of getting kicked out for dyeing my parents' pool red. After getting kicked out and turning this storm shelter into my new home, you guys commented saying that I should turn it into a gaming setup. And so today, to make the most out of living in here, that's what I'm gonna do. I came out of the storm cellar and then went to sneak back in to grab a TV and an Xbox. I stole this TV out of the spare bedroom and took it back to the storm shelter, and then I went back to grab this Xbox and Minecraft. And lastly, I just needed power, so I got multiple extension cords and hooked it up until I had my Xbox. I loaded an old world I hadn't played in forever, and I was actually playing Minecraft in the cellar. Let me know what else I should try.
So one day someone commented saying I should run over the eggs on the purple mattress to see if that would crush them. So now I gotta try it. My brother pulled the truck up and then I did a quick fall test to see how that would do. None of the eggs broke until I let them roll off. But now it was time to see if they could survive the truck. The tire went over the eggs cleanly and we couldn't see anything yet until he pulled off, and yeah. Comment any other ideas. It's officially part 99 of my giant rubber band ball. And this is 50 more pounds of rubber bands that we're about to add on to the ball. We start by looping all the bands together like this, which is the longest part. We sit there for what feels like an eternity, just looping band after band after band until the pile is completely empty. We're almost to rubber band ball part 100, which is crazy. And for part 100, we're going to be placing 100 pounds on the rubber band ball. And we finished up these two 25-pound strands like this until the ball was finished. Weighing literally 1,600 pounds, it almost took out my tripod. So it's part 98 of my over 1,500 pound rubber band ball. I ordered more bands at the price of $230. I recruited some help and then got out at looping all 50 pounds of bands to place on the ball. And this is the longest I've gone in between rubber band ball videos. Rubber bands have been pretty difficult to get lately, but as long as you guys keep liking and supporting these videos, I'll keep on adding more bands to the rubber band ball. We finished adding bands, threw some stuff, and then aired up this hamster ball. People wanted me to try to fit the ball in it, but I couldn't, so I threw it on top. Then I stood on the ball like this and hopped off. Like for me to keep going. So one day I wanted to get inside this giant inflatable dome and fill it completely up with water. I got inside with my gear, let it air up, and then began filling it up with water. I also taped up the seams so no water would get out, and then I just let it fill. But things started to go sideways. Literally, the dome was going sideways. We eventually got it kind of stable, and it looked like this cool oasis. The dome moved even closer to the woods, but it looked like it was staying stable. So now all I had to do was stay there and let the water fill up. I eventually got bored, started swimming around, goofing off, and then I discovered water was getting out of these holes. I felt defeated, but stay tuned because if this video gets enough likes, we're gonna try again on the concrete with even more tape. So one day, after 2 years of taking this tiny rubber band ball that grew really big to the pawn shop guy to see what it would give me, and a bunch of other random stuff that most of the time didn't work out, I'm here to surprise the pawn guy with his very own tiny rubber band ball to pawn. This is how he reacted.
What's up, Dylan?
I have a new ball.
It's a nice little round ball.
I'm not trying to sell it or sell anything.
Really? What brings you in then?
Just wanted to give you this ball.
Sweet.
A gift and a thank you for being in all my videos.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, so you can
Appreciate
put it on one of these shelves and try to sell
I
it.
then told him I wanted him to try to pawn it and see how much he could get for
How
it.
much you think you want to get out of it? How about $99.99? Let's find a spot to put
And
it.
he actually had the perfect spot for it. Follow along to see how much it goes for. Full vid, link in bio. So this is Sean Does Magic. He's the most famous magician on TikTok. And today he's going to teach me a magic trick. But first, he had me pick a card. He then took the card and just started stretching it out until it looked like this. Yeah, he's a pro. But me, not so much. He began trying to coach me through the basics of magic. I had him pick a card and said, "Is this your card?" I'm holding the card. So yeah, you could say I wasn't doing very well. But Sean kept pushing through until eventually I got it. And I did my first ever magic trick. Thank you, Sean. So one day I flew all the way out to California to try In-N-Out for the very first time. There's none of these where I live, and apparently people like them. The aesthetic was very nice. I looked at the menu and decided I wanted a burger, some fries, and a milkshake. I also got a drink, and it had these cool touchless things. Here's my burger and fries. They looked really good. The milkshake was amazing. I then dipped my french fry into my shake, and it was amazing. Now it was time for the burger, and it was pretty good. In-N-Out, I'd say it lived up to the expectation. This is my giant 1,600-pound rubber band ball, and as many of you know, it started from, an exploding watermelon. And for over the last 2 years, it's continued on past what I ever thought it would. Weighing over 1,600 pounds, we're on our way to a world record. Well, kinda, we're still like 8,000 pounds away, but the point is, this ball's come a long way, and it's only the beginning. Just kidding, because we're going to completely destroy it. Yeah, just kidding again. It's indestructible. But the next part is part 100, and we're adding 100 pounds of rubber band. So stay tuned.
So one day I wanted to attempt to build shoes that would make me walk on water. So I went to Walmart and bought water repellent spray, some foam board and some duct tape, and then I got to work building these shoes. This board floats pretty well like this. Then I sprayed it completely down with the water repellent, sprayed some on myself, then duct taped the boards to my foot like so, until eventually I had perfect water shoes that would allow me to run on the water.
I stepped off the dock to start walking. Yeah, it broke. So one day I went to the Mr. Beast Gumball machine to try to win a Tesla. I took my big coin, put it in the slot, gave it a twist, and then a ball shot right out of this thing. I was feeling pretty lucky. I picked it up, and inside the gumball was some cool socks and a chocolate bar.
So one day I wanted to fill an entire hamster ball up with Diet Coke and Mentos, but first I wanted to do some Mentos rocket. The first one shot like a rocket, and the next one just went straight up. The hamster ball took about an hour to fill, and after that it looked insane. I got out the Diet Coke syrup and this ore, then opened up the hamster ball like this and started trying to pour the box in. It was really heavy, so we struggled, but eventually got it all mixed up. Then I climbed on inside, got aired up, and swam around. It was pretty crazy looking in there. Here's me drinking it. It's pretty watered down, then going underwater, coming back up and taking some Mentos and dropping them in. They did nothing. Then we got this insane looking shot, and the full YouTube video is linked down below. So one day I set out to make a fully functional cardboard boat with a motor attached. I went to Walmart, got a bunch of cardboard, and then I went home to figure out how I was going to be able to support this motor on a cardboard boat. The cardboard's too flimsy, and the battery in the motor is really heavy. It will have to attach to the boat somehow like this. So I just got to work building around the motor with a bunch of layers of cardboard. You know, flipping it, taping it, adding even more cardboard, taping all that down and around, adding some more, then some more, until eventually I called it a day, and the next day I had to go get more supplies to make it even sturdier. This boat has to be completely strong enough to hold me, the battery, and the motor, so we have to make it float. We reinforced the bottom with double-sided cardboard like this, then taped that all down and the entire bottom to help waterproof it before we added the Flex Seal and the great stuff. I started by spraying the entire bottom with blue Flex Seal and then some white to make it look frosted, and then I started on the great stuff. My friend Austin then sprayed it to look like a flaming Cheeto, and all we have to do is wait for it to dry and then test it tomorrow. So one day, after trying and failing to completely fill this inflatable dome up with water, I said we would try again and fix everything that went wrong in a part 2 if the video got enough likes, so that's what we're gonna do. This time we'll be working on completely level ground using way more flex tape. My first task inside the dome was making sure everything was completely sealed off and ready for the water. My friend got this super powerful water gun and tried to shoot me. I just continued on doing my normal dome things, and then I saw my dog. I couldn't even pet her, she was so far. But I just stayed in the dome, hour on end, waiting for the water to fill up. I also patched this leak leak, and my brother got me Sonic because I was hungry. A corn dog never tasted so good. And then I heard the ice cream man. My friends got me ice cream. The guy said,
subscribe to Dylan Ayres.
I got a bomb pop. I broke it, but it was delicious. Meanwhile, I'd been in there for 3 hours, and the water was actually expanding the dome instead of going up. The sun was coming down, and it was about to rain, so we had to halt the water. So I stopped this leak with my tongue like this, did a cannonball, and tried to ride the waves on this whale. But time was up. I unzipped the dome and tried to ride out on my whale. This happened. So one day I decided I was going to beat the world record for blowing the largest bubble out of bubble gum. Here was my first attempt. And my brother's. It was pretty challenging to make my bubble any bigger. They kept on reaching the same size and then popping, so I threw some more gum in my mouth. After that fail, I had this behemoth. That popped. And another pop. Then this one got stuck in my hair. But I hadn't lost hope. I had one more awesome bubble, threw the rest of the gum in my mouth, and then gave up. And sugar crashed. So one day, after seeing all these videos of people blowing bubbles with Jolly Ranchers, I had to try it out for myself. I got a bunch of Jolly Ranchers, put them all on this plate, and stuck it in the microwave for like 40 seconds. I waited until it was done, and they were like sizzling. I used this straw from my water bottle, spun it around, and tried to blow, but I only got this little bubble, so I tried again. I put them back in the microwave for a little bit less time this time, until it looked really good, so I tried again. And it was actually pretty insane. The bubbles just went everywhere. I wanted to keep on trying. I also wanted to taste it, which I did. It was pretty good. I melted some more and did one final blow. So yeah, this actually works and was a lot of fun. So one day I bought this $100 leaky metal boat, and I had my brother help me saw a big hole in it to take this Plexan glass and put it in with flex tape. And I got to flex taping in hopes of making my dream glass bottom boat. The front looked really solid, so we flipped it over and did the back as well. After that we let it set for a few days and then took it out to the pond. I felt ready to conquer my dreams. I pulled the boat onto the water and it seemed to be holding up pretty well. Look at it, it's amazing. I looked for some fishies inside the water but didn't see any. I wanted to travel all the way through the bridge and back, but water started leaking in the boat. But I remained calm and rowed back to shore to dump some of the water out and give it another shot. But then my brother really wanted to go, so I let him try. He did surprisingly well, rowing out very strong. And then this kayak passed him. He kept on rowing in my epic boat, and just like that, he was across, but a lot of water was getting in. So he made it back and then celebrated. So one day I climbed inside this giant water balloon to fill it up and get all the way inside. It was a tough start getting all the way inside the balloon, but once I got my waist around it, I just started letting the water pour in. I was pretty bored just sitting in this balloon full of water, waiting for it to fill all the way up, and after a while longer, before I could even get in the balloon, this happened. Sadly, the balloon popped, but at least we have all these cool slow-mo cams. Comment any other video ideas you want me to try and I might do it. So one day people were commenting saying my over 1,400 pound rubber band ball is boring now because it can barely move. But at the end of the video, this ball will be over 1,500 pounds and I'm going to prove that we can still move it by knocking down a bunch of bowling pins. We finished looping all 50 pounds of bands and then placed it perfectly on the ball like this. And then it was time to set up these pins. I set them up, tested them out, and then set them up again for the rubber band ball. And the ball can roll with a lot of effort, but it's really hard to get it to go where you want it. We eventually knocked over a bunch of pins and then crushed this pin like this. So comment if I should keep the series alive. So one day it was super windy, so I decided to take my hamster ball out on the lake. I was going to have to walk across this bridge to get to my launching point. I went until I got to the bridge, walking in my hamster ball. Yeah, pretty cool. Then I walked across and made it to the water. I just rolled into the water like this, and I was hoping because of how windy it was, it would just push me all the way to the other shore where I needed to be. I waved hi to my brother, and it was really cool in there. I tried to look for fishies underwater. And it perfectly worked. I floated to the other side until I reached the end of my journey. But it wasn't over yet, because I wanted to try one more time, but this time something interesting happened. I encountered a Karen. She came out of nowhere and then came up to me and said something, but I didn't even hear her, so I said, "What?" But no worries. She eventually wandered off into Karen land and I continued on my journey, making it all the way across. So one day I let this penny decide if I would spend my $40 at Target if it lands on heads, or the dollar store if it landed on tails. It fell to the ground and landed on tails. The dollar store. The goal was to get the most bang for my buck and get like 40 items, but everything was way more than $1. I got silly string, a punching bag, the star balloon, a phone magnifier, this bubble gun, and the Sour Patch. And now it was time to test out my purchases. The Sour Patch was really good. Then I got out the silly string, sprayed it all over the wall and my brother. Then I tried to spray it all on the ceiling and it fell down. I was like, what? I hit the star balloon, blew up this punching bag, hit it too, pretty hard. Then got out the phone magnifier, which actually worked surprisingly well. I could actually see my phone way bigger. And I saved the best for last, this bubble gun. So this is my rubber band ball, and here's the world record. My ball is currently 1,400 pounds and a long way from the record at 9,000 pounds, but we looped all these bands, 50 pounds to be exact, until it was finished, and then we were ready to place them on the ball to get it one step closer to the world record. And just by leaving a like on this video, you can help aid in the journey to beating the world record. Here I am rolling and then falling off the ball like this, and here's the ball in all of its awesomeness.
So one day people wanted me to fill this giant water balloon up and smash it with my over 1,300 pound rubber band ball. The problem is this ball is super hard to move. We barely got it outside. Stood on it like this, and then we began filling the water balloon up. It's supposed to be about 6 feet, but I'm not sure how big we'll be able to get it. We stopped it at a pretty decent size and then tried to roll the rubber band ball to it. And the huge ball had to go up a slight incline, which made it really hard. We got it on the balloon, but it didn't even pop. It wasn't exactly easy to keep trying, so we just threw this little rubber band ball on it like this, and it wouldn't pop. Until eventually I just threw it like this, and then bam, all the water went everywhere.
So one day I bought this super powerful laser to pop this giant 6-foot balloon. But first I blew up all these other balloons I had laying around, big and small, and then I just started popping them like this, and then like this, and then this one, and some of them wouldn't pop for a while. To test the laser's power, I started melting this plastic ball, and it made a hole and started smoking, and so did this cardboard box. And then my rubber band ball. Just kidding. We actually blew up the giant balloon, threw it on the trampoline like this, and then tried to pop it, which actually took a while, but we eventually got it. Here's the slow-mo. So one day, after I made a video with these moon shoes, the company sent me a box, which contained the original moon shoes, a yo-yo ball, and these soccer boppers that I let my brother hit me in the face with. I then opened the moon shoes and was kind of confused. I had to wrap a bunch of rubber bands to it like this. I then stood on it and it was pretty stable. Here's what it all looked like. I then strapped them on my feet and headed out the door, with the help of a cane. And the shoes were a little bouncy, but very hard to run in. Yeah, I'm not much faster. And here's my brother bouncing in slow-mo. And then he fell. So it's rubber band ball part 95, and this ball weighs 1,350 pounds. We had it outside and had to push it all the way inside, which was really hard, and then we dumped out all these bands to place. My friend Brennan did one pile of 25 pounds, and I did the other pile of 25 pounds, and we just looped them all together until we had 2 giant strands of bands that we wrapped completely around the ball like this. Another 50 pounds like that. The ball is now 1,400 pounds. Be sure to give this a like for me to beat the world record.
So one day my comments were amazed I was able to destroy a Nokia, so here I have another one that I bought for 25 cents. And when I slammed it, the back just flew off of it, so then I tried to roll my rubber band ball on it, and it was just kind of awkward because it wouldn't really go over it right. Eventually I just laid it down right here to run it over like this. We looked at it afterwards and it was pretty crushed, but I wanted it to be completely totaled, so I smashed it with this brick, and then I took his son, the younger Nokia.